Impact of alcohol on children's education. It is well-known fact that in the entire world, the Indian family system has a unique position, which is nowadays getting tarnished. And the image of the Indian family system is being eroded. An alcoholic becomes emotionally, physically, socially and spiritually bankrupt. It is a powerful and a relapse-prone disease. Particularly, the woman expresses their anguish over the impact of alcohol as they have become victims of domestic violence. The children become child laborers and then into juvenile delinquents in the long run. If there is a ban on the availability of alcohol, certainly literacy rate will improve among slums, rural, tribal areas and also among vulnerable groups. Finally, the housewives appeal to the government to strictly impose ban on the sale of alcohol and remove the darkness engulfing the Indian families. The researcher is also presenting some video films on the views of respondents. It is another reply of a fisherman expressed his anguish over children's education. No teacher would take any interest to educate children. The child does not know alphabets at all. For example, age-wise, this boy should be studying 7th standard. But presently, he is in 2nd standard and he does not know alphabets as such. Could you say anything else? Due to absence of teachers, children completely do not like to go to school. Yes, there is no use going there. Coming to absence and apathetic attitude of teachers, this is what children tells their parents. Is there any impact on children's education due to consumption of alcohol? Another family member responds positive that there is impact. Even when our children studied up to 5th standard in the government school, they cannot read or write at least their name in Telugu. Poster. In our school, no government teacher will take any positive interest. Salaries given to them go waste. It is better to close the schools. This is reply with a sense of anguish. When asked, a red maxi dressed lady, she said, the government school teachers never bother about children's education. Some parent ask the teacher, whenever he physically punishes the children in the name of not studying well. As such, our children were not willing to go to school and as such they discontinue their studies. Another bobbed hair lady replied, her view in this manner, we have no money to send our children to private schools. We send our children to government schools only. Even then, there is no progress in government schools as those schools are meant for poor people like us. Due to sending children to school, we lose both children's education as well as their help at home, and it makes them roaming on the streets. And further, she says that every day her husband does not have daily work. On that day, he gets drunk and harass the entire family using abusive language and physically harass the family members. He does not even spare his elderly daughter and old parents. And as such, it becomes a routine life. Mentally, we prepare ourselves for such a worst contingency and troublesome life. In such a background, we cannot prepare our children to go to school. Even if we send them, there is no use at all, as the government school teachers will not take care of children's education owing to our poverty. Is there any impact on your children's education due to consumption of alcohol by your husband? Certainly, there is. When my husband was drunk, children were afraid to see him, and mentally they become upset and will be having fear complex of a worst kind. He shouts and terrorizes the whole family, and sometimes due to fear they run away from home as they cannot concentrate on their studies. He will not even spare children and old parents. My husband never bothers about children's education. As such, alcohol is root cause of all problems like illiteracy, poverty, ill health, and early death, etc. When we asked a couple of women, they jointly replied that their husbands are always in a drunken state. When the husband does not have money for drink, he shouts and physically batters all of the family members. He will not spare his old parents either. Sometimes he ransacks the entire home on some pretext or other and cannot concentrate on children's education. Because of this, we failed to send our 5 children to school. During the interview, another lady joined this issue and she said that recently, due to consumption of alcohol, 8 members died in their colony as they started to drink at the age of 12 years instead of going to school, and they are habituated to take alcohol regularly. When father is drunkard, naturally children also start to drink alcohol and their education and career will get affected. Another man confesses that due to his faulty behavior, his children are also affected in that they are out of control from discipline. He further tells that he is unable to stop drinking alcohol, but we are optimistic about prevalence of better education for children, which could be realized at school, where it is presently abysmal.